called Karen or Becky or Chad without that being your real name? Or have you ever seen anyone else being called like that? But what does it really mean? How do American or native speakers use first names in a very unconventional way? Let's see that together. Hi guys, welcome back to Maiora, welcome back to my channel. This will be a very funny video, I hope. We're going to talk about how first names can be used by English native speakers, especially American people, in order to identify a group of people, a stereotype, a group of people with who share the same characteristics. And most of the times these names are not used in a kind way. They can be rather offensive or even used as insults. Well, let's see a few of them together. One of the most common one is Karen. I'm sure you've seen that somewhere on social media, on the internet. Something like, "Shut up, Karen," or "Oh, there's always a Karen that criticizes or complains," or even the plural, okay? There were a lot of Karens, which is quite strange, really. They don't talk about people whose name is actually Karen, but they are talking about a stereotype. They're talking about a group of people, and especially it concerns middle-aged women that are quite conceited and smug and quite self-righteous, and there are people who tend to tell everyone off, and they criticize everyone, and in fact they often demand to speak to a manager, for example. They're quite selfish, and they are often privileged, and they don't understand they are actually privileged. They don't understand how the world is and how the world works, but they think they do, and their way of thinking is based on prejudices. They're quite close-minded. They really don't care about others, but they just want to be served their way, and if they aren't, they criticize, that get mad, and as I said before, they tend to be quite bigoted and definitely very annoying. And the younger version of a Karen, because sometimes we hear or we read people calling women, even young women, Karens. But that's not, it's quite an improper use of the word, because younger Karens are actually called Beckys. Yes, Becky or Stacy sometimes is a girl. In this case, sorry, it's a younger. She's a younger woman that tends to be quite privileged without acknowledging, okay, her own privileges, and often she's a white woman, quite often with blonde hair, and she's always very stylish, and she spends a lot of money. It's often her dad's, or anyway her parents' money, so she's quite spoiled. She spends her time gossiping or flirting. She flirts a lot. And quite often, if I should describe a Karen, I would say she's got a very annoying voice. This is also one of her characteristics. Then there are other names, also, okay, not just also male names, like for example Chad. Chad is a typical alpha man. He's young, handsome, quite attractive. He doesn't have to be rich necessarily, but he certainly likes to spend a lot of money, especially to impress other people. important people, or those people he considers to be important, because he ignores other people, basically. And he's quite popular, especially amongst women. Women that he actually treats as sex objects. He's obviously quite self-centered, often focused on his career, on appearances. That is a Chad, a typical Chad. And then there are other names. They're probably less common, but still quite used. For example, there's that colleague that works with you that is so annoying. There is one in every office, or anyway, in every workplace. That colleague that you really wish should leave as soon as possible. Well, that colleague is a Sharon. Often, not always. She can be a Sharon or a Susan or even a Sandra. Sometimes it's a Felicia. Felicia is the colleague you want to get rid of immediately. And then there are others like a Jen. A Jen is a liar. Okay, that's less common but still used. And another one is for men it's a Harold. Harold is normally a man who's considered to be too old to understand things. It's rather offensive, okay? It's quite an insult. I would say that it's almost a synonym of another word that I hate so much. I find it quite repulsive, and that word is boomer. So we can say that a Harold is a boomer. Oh, I hate it that much. Then, of course, first names are often used in a kind of weird way, and it isn't always offensive. It's not always an insult. Sometimes they're just used to, as I said before, to categorize people or to talk about people in general. There are a few lines of a very, very popular song. I'm sure you know that. The song is Tougher Than the Rest by Springsteen. There are many different versions. I love the country version by Chris Ledoux. Anyway, this song contains a few lines that are quite interesting, because the names are really used to talk about people in general. I will read you these lines. I don't know them by heart, but the lines are: some girls, they want an handsome Dan or some good-looking Joe on their arm. Some girls like a sweet-talking Romeo. Now, in this case, they basically say that some girls want or would like, on their arms next to them, would like an handsome Dan or a good-looking Joe. Obviously, I'm not talking about a man whose name is actually Dan or Joe. I'm using these names to say any man. Okay, I could say a handsome dude or a good-looking dude, a good-looking man in general, like any man. So we're talking about someone, okay, quite in general. And this is, especially Joe, it's used a lot in this case, okay, to mean a generic some dude, okay, not specifically, not a person specifically, but just a man in general. Romeo, yes, well, it is a first name, obviously, and it is used in this case to talk about a romantic guy in general. But it's a bit different because, you know, Romeo and Juliet, well, it refers to the character, and that character was known for being especially romantic, etc. So I would say this is rather, it's more of a figure of speech, the antonomasia. Okay, so Romeo, the character, was very romantic. So when I say Romeo, I mean a romantic guy. This is a bit different, probably, but anyway, it's another way to use first names. And there are many others. For example, Americans can turn a first name into a verb, a real verb. I will make an example because it's easier. It's much easier than just explaining it. I was watching a TV show the other day, and it was about ghosts. And the character was a ghost, and he wanted to get in contact with a person, with a girl. And he said something like, let's Patrick Swayze her. Let's Patrick Swayze her. Obviously, Patrick Swayze was the actor, and we know him as a protagonist of the movie, very famous new movie, Ghost. And in that movie, his character could get in touch with the girl he loved. Demi Moore was the actress there. And so in this case, when this character said, let's Patrick Swayze her, he wanted to say, let's do as Patrick Swayze did in the movie with her. Obviously, he changed the name of the actor into a real verb. This is something that doesn't exist in other languages for sure. So using a name as a verb that actually represents or talks about a specific ability or characteristic of that person. Then another strange way to use names is, and also in this case they are changed, turned into verbs. So let's make an example. Also in this case, you know, my name is Sarah. If I were talking with anyone and maybe arguing with anyone, friend, my husband, my mother, and they addressed me, or anyway, they said something like Sarah, and maybe they go on talking. In this case, the word is a sort of a reprimand, or the way they say that is obviously not a gentle way to call my name. And so I could answer back, don't Sarah me. Don't Sarah me. I mean, what does it mean? Sarah is not a verb, it's my name. Don't Sarah me means don't say Sarah to me, okay? Don't address to me that way, basically. So I'm complaining, I'm basically it's sort of a quick answer, and I'm saying, okay, don't be so aggressive, or don't talk to me that way, and so I will use the name as a verb in this case. Don't Sarah me. Okay, that's obviously another form that makes sense only in English. We can't say that. In other languages, we can eventually translate something like don't say Sarah to me, or don't call me Sarah that way, but obviously it's not, the effect is quite different. Well, there are also many other ways to use first names in strange ways in English. If you have any of them on your mind, just drop a comment here below. I hope it was interesting or fun, and maybe it will help you understand a few conversations maybe online when people call other people Karens or Beckys or Chads, or maybe someone who says, oh yes, I met a very handsome Joe, and obviously he doesn't talk about a man named Joe, but just some dude, okay? So this is quite useful to know, because if we don't know that could actually lead to a few misunderstandings. I've seen conversations like, oh, stop it, Karen, and the other person answering, my name's not Karen, which is quite obvious, but it's better to know what it really means. I hope it was useful, or at least just funny, and thank you so very much for following. See you very soon with other fun facts and even more serious topics about English and about English literature and German and so on and so forth. So, thank you very much. See you soon.